Hi, Duncan Law. I'm Policy and Advocacy Manager of Community Energy England and have been for precisely 1 year today. Before that, back in 2011, I was a founder member of Brixton Energy and Repowering London, out of whose office I normally work. So putting people at the heart of the energy system is not just Community Energy England's strapline, it's our overarching policy ask of government. Because it's win-win-win, and I'll go into that later, and it's popular, so it should be a political no-brainer. And we want it centrally in the Energy White Paper, in the Net Zero Review, in the Net Zero Plan, and visible at COP26, and in a new community energy strategy, which we hope will be a driver for adequate support because of the social benefit and the indispensability of community energy, because community energy is essential to the zero carbon transition. And that's the argument that we're frontlining on in our community energy parliamentary briefing, which can be accessed by that bit.ly link, bit.ly CEE briefing. And we keep that up to date as situations change. Why are we essential? Well, our argument is that in order to do the net zero transition, the government needs the consent and the participation of the people. And luckily, the Committee on Climate Change agrees, not least because 62% of all measures to get us to net zero are dependent on behavior change, and that is a product of peer pressure and influence, and that is best done face-to-face and locally. And the CCC says there is currently no government strategy to engage the public in the transition to a low-carbon economy. This will need to change, and we argue that community energy, as a trusted, knowledgeable, local, motivated vector to the people, is an essential component to advocate for and deliver the transition. So that's one reason why we're win-win-win, and it's pretty basic and it isn't going to change no matter what else comes down the line at us. But also, we are efficient. Where else can you get a 24-to-1 return on any investment? South East London Community Energy recently did their social return on investment calculations, and for every £1 that they spent on energy efficiency and fuel poverty work, £24 came back in social cost reduction, which included a £6 return to the householder over 2 years in terms of cost savings on bills. And of course, it's important to argue that that returns on investment in energy saving are eternal. They go on forever. And that's a trick that people miss. But also in terms of actual return on investment, in the State of the Sector report for covering 2018, we showed that for £2.3 million of development funding, we leveraged, I hate that word, 40 million of actual investment. And out of that returned through community benefit funds, 978,000 that was spent back into the community in England and Wales. And that doesn't include more than 2 million in Scotland. But all that wonderfulness is in the context of having, over the last 5 years, virtually every support for community energy has been removed by government policy changes, resulting in these figures, which basically can be summarized as a sector that is stalled and frustrated, but still hugely motivated to move us towards a zero carbon transition. So covering the policy context, obviously the overarching policy context at the moment is COVID, and an awful lot of focus on anything else has been stolen by needing to deal with the emergency. but we still live in a world, in a country that is governed by a net zero by 2050 target, which is too slow and too late, but it's still challenging. And the Prime Minister has promised colossal investments in infrastructure, in science, using our incredible technological advances to make this country the cleanest, greenest on earth, with the most far-reaching environmental programs. The proof of the pudding. But very little mention of people and communities in there. So we've got to drive for them to be at the center of this policy revolution. £9.2 billion committed to home energy efficiency, which was a surprise. It's still not enough, even to deal with fuel poverty. But we must make sure that we get some of that for community energy, who do it brilliantly. The government has recommitted to onshore wind and solar, which was a surprise, is brilliant, but of course very little in there for community energy, because it's all for installations bigger than 5 megawatts. The consultation stresses the need to engage with and support local communities, but basically the system they propose leaves community energy in the cold because it only supports larger than 5 megawatts. So in the absence of any other obvious policy movement in government that might support us, do we want to campaign for a community CFD in this round of CFD reforms? And what would it look like, and how would we organize how would we organize the details of it? That needs to be the subject of major consultation. And I can't read what the bottom of my slide says, so I will leave you to do that. Next slide. Ministers have twice, Claire Perry and her successor, Chris Skidmore, said the future of energy is local. But there's no huge evidence that they know exactly what that means. But it is a huge advantage for us to lead the way, because essentially community energy is local. And local is where it's at on so many energy fronts. People are local, they use energy, so demand is local. Heat is essentially local. Efficiency is generally dealing with buildings or processes and is run by people, so you have to negotiate with them. Engagement, which is what's going to enable the transition, is best done face to face, and we know that from experimental results. We're 25% better than Centrica at getting energy interventions like energy audits. Resilience, again, it's about people and place and a lot of mobility. And community energy has local knowledge, which is indispensable, about people and best partners, about the local assets, local need, and the particular local sensitivities, politics. The policy opportunities that we sit with, I've moved the first one from lower down to the top, because I think we all acknowledge that really we need system change, and we mustn't waste this emergency. Strangely,
Duncan, just 2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you. So we need to be emphasizing build back better, the fact that the recovery has to be not just green, but it has to be about people and communities. And we have to tell the stories of the amazing creativity and delivery that communities have done. The need to engage the people is not going to go away. The current CFD consultation it's important to engage with it, because we need to show that community energy is in fact the best people to engage and bring benefit to communities. Local climate emergencies, yes, we need to engage. The DNO to DSO transition and local area energy planning, something the Energy Systems Catapult has done a lot of work on, but we don't see a huge amount of evidence of it having traction at local or national level. And energy efficiency and the need for flexibility and demand side response as the balance to increased renewables. policy challenges. We don't have a business model. We need support. Local authorities, many people will know, are often difficult to work with, but they're facing us now with the climate emergency and incumbency, the big energy structures, and the lack of real focus in the corporate world or in government on people and communities. So our call to action is we need to work together to get strong climate change action. The green stimulus, the Green New Deal, we must call it by its name, that is fast and fair and people and local and community centered and leads to real system change. So we must reinforce and share those positive stories, and please send us all your data from COVID-19 to help us argue that. A strong focus on energy saving as the first measure we must take, and fabric first in buildings. And I would urge you, please, whether you like them or not, connect with your MP and urge a support package for community energy and copy us in. That bit.ly link is to the open letter to the Prime Minister. Visit the influence page on our website to get draft letters, and work with your local authorities, engage in local area energy planning. And finally, the feed-in tariff extension, which was our recent lucky win, I would say, was very much down to you. It was down to members like Dan and Community Energy Wales and lots of others sharing data and case studies with us, which enabled BEIS to justify taking action. And by good relations with an MP, which enabled us to get a meeting with the Energy Minister, who is now, has community energy on his radar and thinks of himself as a friend. So that's I have one more call to action, which I've already said. Yes, big up the Green New Deal and build back better. And that's us. Please do visit the website, look at the influence tab, contribute to the CFD consultation, and email me.